Hi, we're going to talk about 2025 Release 1. It was released on April 16th, 2025. We've added a new GUI container called a split pane, and the ability to create barcodes and QR codes easily using $Bitmap. The search functionality on our grids, list boxes, and tree views has been improved. We've added several compiler enhancements such as local variable support, Java-like syntax for method parameters, and further support for generic types. The debugger has some great new features that I think you'll like. And EasyDB, or the Database Bridge, now supports a new relational database, DBMaker. Let's get into some specifics about these and some other changes in the first release of 2025. The split pane control is a container control with two sections, horizontal or vertical, and a dividing bar that the user can move to resize the sections. Your code decides where the original divider bar is located and the minimum and maximum size the user can change each section to. In your screen section, after creating the control, you'll define a group of controls to display in each section. If the user moves the divider, an event is returned with the location of the divider bar in a percentage of the screen. For example, right in the middle it would be 50%. We'll look at a sample in a demonstration later. We've made it very easy to create a barcode or a QR code using $Bitmap. There are 16 different options for the Bitmap barcode box opcode, and you can customize the colors, the logo image, see the variant logo image in the middle of this QR code. You can include text, use anti-aliasing, set the DPI, and specify the height, width, and orientation. Now once created, you can print it out, you can display it on a screen in a bitmap or other control, or you can pass it to a third-party application. The search panel was introduced in the 2021 and 22 releases. In 2025 R1, we add some much-anticipated improvements. The search panel can be displayed programmatically with the search panel property set to 1, or you can have the user display it on demand with Control and F. Now the control's content can be changed to remove the items that don't match the search, or to just highlight the matching text within the list. New navigation buttons let the user move between the results, and a debouncer timer is included. This is a delay before the control starts to search, letting the user enter more than one letter before filtering starts. We're going to see this in action during the demonstration. In addition to the alignment property to set the alignment in every cell in a column, you can now specify the alignment in just one specific cell in a grid. The chips box was added in the last version, and now you can display it with a 3D look, or boxed, or not boxed. You can also specify that the chips in the chips box be shown in the order the program adds them, instead of automatically making them alphabetical. Some of the old bitmaps were not supported by the Java runtime. Now they are, with a new graphics loading algorithm that handles legacy icon formats. The web browser control usually uses a past URL to display inside it, but now you can load HTML code directly by putting the code in the value property of the control. Now you can declare a limited scope variable inside your code for a specific method or block of code. This is called a local variable, and it's similar to other languages like C# and Java. The advantage of this is that you can avoid the conflicts that you get when you use a working storage variable in more than one place. Also, you can create a thread-safe variable when you're running in a multi-threaded program. You do this with a declare statement, and you can use a primitive type, a Java class object, or a working storage variable with a type-def clause. Now you can define the parameters of a method directly in the method ID paragraph, instead of having them in both the linkage section and the using clause of the procedure division statement. Not only does this result in shorter code, but it'll be more familiar to developers of other languages. For instance, the Java equivalent is this. In Java, you can specify a data type after a class or a method name. to limit that class or method to a type of data, such as integers or strings. This is similar to templates in C#. By using generics, you catch type errors at compile time instead of at runtime. Also, your code is more readable because it's obvious what type of objects are expected. You don't have to perform long individual typecastings, and you get a performance improvement because the type checking is done at compile time and not runtime. You probably know you can build a variable without the string statement by using concatenation. 2025 R1 expands the type of things that can be concatenated to include data items, method results, and resource strings. We're always adding support for other COBOL vendors' specific syntax to make the transition to Variant easier. IBM and Micro Focus COBOL use nested programs, a COBOL source program contained inside and using the same resources as another COBOL source program. We've also added validating and encoding phrase support to XML handling to improve our compatibility. And CBL Locate File is a Micro Focus library that searches multiple paths for a file, and now it's supported. It is COBOL. Precompiling your ESQL can be avoided for 2 additional reasons now: our new support for save points and LOB locators. Save point is used for a starting point of a transaction, so a group of commands can be rolled back if there is an error or an unwanted condition. We've added new SQL types for large objects, or LOBs. BLOB is used for binary data like images, audio, video, and other multimedia files. CLOB is used for large text documents such as XML or JSON data. DBC LOB is used for double byte character data like Chinese, Japanese, Korean. A new runtime switch will calculate and output the total time a program ran. Just add -time to your command line. A new library is COBOL Runtime Preload will preload programs similar to the $C preload routine, but with the added ability to list individual programs. It's a good idea to preload larger programs to avoid the delay that's caused by loading that program in memory the first time it's called. Another good use of preloading is when you have a program with multiple entry points and your calling programs don't call the main program first. IsCOBOL looks for environment variables used in file names in uppercase by default. Now you can set IsCOBOL file env to upper to false to keep the case used in the program source code. So the example on the screen would look for lowercase datapath in the environment instead of uppercase datapath. You can now include your sound file in your class with copy resource and access it with $Play_Sound, so you don't have to distribute a separate physical file with your application. The use at program start declaratives have been enhanced by supporting the linkage parameters and library routines. The statement is useful to provide startup code that will be executed only once when the program is instantiated. And we've added 2 new method signatures for the runtime to help COBOL integration with Java. These 2 new signatures enable running in an isolated environment, similar to a call-run statement. I just talked about local variables a little bit ago. Now when you compile programs using these local variables in debug, an additional class file is created with the same program name. It'll contain these local variables so that you can view them in the debugger just as you do any other variable. Note the declared temp-tot, the value is listed in watched variables, and the inline variable in-idx is shown in the current variables section. Now you can use 2 new buttons to move back and forth through your navigation history while exploring your code in the debugger. These correspond with the back and forward options in the Edit menu item. And we're going to see this in action in a demo in a little bit. Previously, you could click on a Stop button to stop debugging and on a Restart button to restart debugging from the beginning. Now you can do it together in one button. This icon will stop the current session and start the debugging over. Normally, when you display the value of a variable, it's limited to 1024 characters. But with the new -full option, you'll see the whole value. You can set it in the debugger command area or check the box in the pop-up window you get when you right-click on the variable. The debugger's output area shows errors in red normally. You can change this color in Settings, Customize, Font and Colors. ISCOBOL currently supports the Relational Database Manager DBmaker with a DCI library. Now our users have another option to access this popular Relational Database Manager, using the Database Bridge to access DBmaker's JDBC driver. This means that ISCOBOL can access DBmaker in environments where 100% Java access is needed, like Tomcat or another Java servlet container. Just like all of our EasyDB databases supported, you can generate and compile the bridge programs in one step with these compiler settings, or you can use the legacy-style two-step method. The bridge program prefix for DBmaker is DBM, and DBmaker has two JDBC drivers. Now each one is supported, but we suggest the newer Type 4 driver, which is pure Java. So that's what's new in 2025 R1. Let's look at some of these a little closer. We'll start with the samples program. And under new features for 2025 R1, we start with the split pane. Make this a little bit bigger. And so you can see we have a split pane with two sections. We have a list box on this section, and we have a bunch of labels and entry fields in this section. And the user can increase or decrease the sizes as needed. And it's on a tab called Horizontal. We can click on the vertical and see what the vertical would look like that. And like all of our samples, you can view the source right here. Next up is the bitmap barcode box. Make it a little bit bigger. And we'll start with a QR code. So that's our type. We won't want any text in it. I'm going to put the logo in. We'll leave all the other defaults in and generate it. And there's the QR code. Now we'll make a barcode. And you can see all the different types. I'll just make the first one. And we'll add the text to the bottom. And a barcode will be a number. And it should be longer. And we'll generate that. And there's our barcode. All right, and the last item in the new features is the search panel settings. And we're going to start with the grid. Let me make this a little bit bigger. And we'll enter some text. Let's try Eric. So every line that doesn't contain Eric has been removed from the list. Now I can change this by turning off Filter Active. And this time when I search for Eric, all of the items are still there, but the items that have Eric in it are highlighted. I'm going to add some navigation buttons, and then we can navigate through. And it's the same settings for the list box. We'll try ST here. There we go. We'll make the filter active. And the tree view. And the tree view table. Okay. Next, I want to run a program in the debugger so we can look at some of the new features there. So here's my program in debug. I'm just going to run it. And we can step through. We're down here with S. And say I decide that I want to look at some code. So I'm going to scroll through and we're going to go look at the load main font paragraph, which is here. All right, so I've gone to a few different places. And here are my navigation buttons. When I look at my back button, it's saved the last 4 places that I've been. So I can move back within the code, or now I can move forward. So that lets me move around in my code and save places without having to scroll constantly. When I'm ready to run, I click on the Run button, and I'm back to stepping. And here's my restart button. I'm going to click on it. You can see down here the program finished, and now it's restarting. And it's restarted at the beginning. And there's a look at 2025 R1. I hope you give it a try. You can contact us at the information on the screen or at support@variant.com. Thank you.